We have the pleasure now of being joined by Vermont men's lacrosse head coach Chris Feifs, 3 years running now, coach, on the Ocean podcast. And when you look back at last year, 2024, an 8-8 record overall, but 5-2 in America East play. You guys lose to Albany by one in the American East Championship game. Kind of what was your kind of read on last season, and how do you guys take that trip to the conference championship game and kind of bring it into this season?
Yeah, I think the first thing is I got to be a better coach. Losing a one goal game in the championship just didn't sit well with me. Just as the leader of the program, I just got to do a better job of setting my team up for success. But I was very proud of the progress that we made throughout the season. Going 5-2 in our league is really difficult. Or sorry, in our league, just because everybody's really good, and obviously losing to Albany, by 3 goals in 2 games combined. I mean, the margins are very slim in our conference for sure. And playing games like Syracuse is what really, prepares us for league play. So overall, very proud of the growth that we had. I mean, we started 5 freshmen for most of the season, so those guys definitely had some growing pains, but hopefully that really, seasoned them for the future and just gave us a little more depth, for our program.
Coach, you said that you need to be a better coach. You look at your records every year getting better and better. Is there one thing that you kind of pinpointed in the offseason that you'd think about in changing your game planning towards this season?
Yeah, just from like the head coaching role, I've been a D coordinator for a long time, and I was a D coordinator up until about 2023 here and I had a guy for a year, and then I brought in a new guy, and so there was a transition year, and just kind of getting back into my head coaching role. I really want to be, more involved in the rides and the clears and the face off and the wing play aspect of things. Just because so many of these close games, right? One goal games, the margins are so thin. You got to take care of the ball between the lines in terms of first time clears and trying to create some offense in the ride. So, it's always fun to work on 6-on-6 and, man up, man down. But I think as a head coach, stepping back from a little more of a broader view, I want to make sure that I'm helping our team between the lines set itself up for success.
Talking about your coaching style, for people who don't know, you played back at Maryland back in the day in college. Head coach Brian Cottle. Is there anything that you took from your time at Maryland and the coaching staff that you had in college that you kind of bring into your coaching style at Vermont?
Yeah, I mean, Maryland has a tremendous tradition, a tremendously deep, proud tradition, and the team motto is "Be the best" there. Every single day. And as the leader of this program, I want to make sure that I carry that with me everywhere I go, and I'm the best version of myself for my team every day, and lead by example through not only my actions but how I message my team and how I'm leading them verbally. So definitely, just the accountability of bringing my best every day. And also just the edge. Maryland has a great edge about it. It has a level of toughness about it that a lot of people just, try to replicate, but you can't duplicate it. And I want to make sure that Vermont is perceived and respected as a very tough, gritty team. And I want to make sure that as the leader of them, I emulate that myself.
Coach, one of the members of your team, Charlie Pope, had a great year last season, Offensive Player of the Year. Is there something that he can do better this season or step up into an even bigger role that he had last year?
Yeah, I think, just when Charlie steps on the field, he's such a big presence, like physically and also his reputation that, he does a lot of heavy lifting just by being on the field. He draws a lot of attention. He can, draw the team's, long stick midi. Like he can help our offense in a variety of ways just by being involved. For Charlie, he's a tireless worker, and he really worked this offseason on figuring out other ways to, round out his game, whether it be his offhand, whether it be what he's doing, shooting with his offhand, or what he does without the ball, working on being a better off-ball player. Simply because, a lot of times you're not starting your offense dodging the long stick midi, right? You're trying to get the ball moving through short stick matchups generally. So, he's a ball dominant player, and he's a guy that can, do so much for our offense. But his work ethic is incredible, and he's really impressed me and our staff with how he's rounded out his game as a complete midfielder this offseason. So I'm excited to see him, play some other great competition and show the country.
You talked about how you brought back, or you had a younger squad last year. You bring back three preseason all-conference players that attack in midfield: Luke, Charlie, and Tristan Whitaker. How is that experience going to help you compared to last season with a lot of that offensive continuity coming back?
Yeah, you said it. I mean, our lineup changed a tremendous amount throughout the season. For the second straight year, we lost our ex-attackman going into that Syracuse game. And so right away, I mean, we were without, some continuity, and we had to play some guys that weren't necessarily ready for that moment, due to experience or due to age. And so, um, we've been able to really, as I said earlier, season those young guys through some really hard fought games with a tough out of conference schedule and a tough conference schedule as well, to be ready for a moment like Syracuse with, how good their defense is and how aggressive and athletic they are, how good their goalie play is, and also just how few mistakes you can make, because Syracuse really makes you pay for errors that you have with turnovers or bad shots and things of that nature. So the IQ piece is really what I think they've developed a lot in their first year here, and I know they're, going to show that this Friday.
Coach, want to touch on your goalie situation. Ryan Daly, he was the guy that was mainly the backup last season. Should we expect to see him come Friday?
Yeah, we've had an ongoing goalie battle, even up until this week. So I'm not quite sure yet, who's going to be the starter, if we're going to go with the righty or the lefty. They both, Jake DeAndrea is the righty, that, started for us in our last scrimmage, and Ryan Daly has been right on his heels as well. So, right now we haven't quite decided on what the rotation is going to be. They're both very capable. Having a righty and having a lefty is a nice thing to have if we wanted to split, the first and second half. So we'll just have to see how the game goes. But right now, I'd say Jake is probably leading the race for that starting job.
It's funny, last year going into the game, if I'm correct, that you guys had a new goalie and a new faceoff man going into the dome against Syracuse. Henry Dodge last year as a freshman had only one face-off win, redshirt fresh, or I think he was a redshirt freshman. Had only one face-off win in his young career, then wins 59% the rest of the season. What did you see from Henry, and how can he improve at the face-off X, which is a huge, portion of college lacrosse?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so proud of Henry. I mean, he truly embodies what it is to be a student athlete. I mean, he is a Dean's List student. He carried 19 credits this fall. He did extra work literally every single day of the week. So he'd be back at the facility in the afternoon, having my assistant coach, beat on him with a pool noodle while he was taking face-offs, just like extra work, second reps of the day. He put on, at least 10 pounds of muscle. He just got in such great shape, and, wasn't satisfied with that 59%. He had a really strong finish to the season, and I was very proud of that. But I've been equally as proud of how he came back this fall and has been a great leader for us, and a really a stalwart at the X. So you're going to see a much improved Henry Dodge this year from what you saw last year against Syracuse. And, he's really made some tremendous strides with rounding out his game, well, with his exits as a face-off guy, his ability to create offense as a face-off guy, and also just being a complete midfielder, not just being a face-off guy. So I'm excited to see what he can do.
Coach, you mentioned it at the start that this is your third time playing Syracuse to start the year. What was there anything you learned last year's game or the year prior that you're trying to take into this one?
Great question. I just think they're always so buttoned up in the beginning of the year. Having an indoor facility that they have, and having the dome where they can practice and play games, it just allows them to have really sharp stick work, more so than a lot of teams at this point of the year. Now, granted, I know they're tremendously talented, but, we're practicing outside at 0 degrees outside, feels like temperature, and the field is icy and snowy. And, we have to train in much different conditions than Syracuse does. So there's a big contrast there. But what it does tell me is we got to be ready for the moment. And what I mean by that is, trying to control, just control the pace of the game a little bit, not give them too many opportunities, because they can capitalize so easily and by so many different players on the field. So I just think to how sharp they are, how skilled they are, more so than most teams in February. And playing in the dome obviously gives them a little bit of a confidence boost too. So we got to make sure we're the best version of ourselves if, we want to limit those opportunities for them.
Coach, I got a two-parter for you. Do you think Syracuse ever travels up to Virtue Field to play Vermont on the road in those icy conditions at some point?
I'd love to. I'd love to, but selfishly, we love coming to the dome. It gives us a nice little respite from the weather and playing on a sick field. And obviously the environment is, uncomparable with any other program. So, we relish this opportunity. I would love to have Q's here if they want to make the trip, but just want to play well on Friday, most importantly.
And then going back, we talked about it. You guys have played them 3 straight years to open up the season. What have you seen kind of the development, at least from Gary Gait as a coach, kind of the squads that he's had throughout the years to where they are now preseason, and now the first regular season media poll at number 2?
Yeah, I think just from my standpoint, as I said, having scrimmaged them or played them since 2018, this looks like the best Syracuse team I've seen since I've been here at Vermont, and just how hungry they are, how balanced they are defensively and offensively. I think they've got a great staff and they've got a great team that's kind of coming together on both ends of the field. It's not just relying on really skilled offensive guys or individuals. I feel like they're playing as one, and I'm sure that has a lot to do with Coach Gate and just his even keel and demeanor, and obviously being the Hall of Famer that he is. So it's a cool guy. He's a great guy to play for, obviously, and he's a unifying force. And as I said, their staff of two coordinators seem to really have a good grasp on their side of the ball. And this year, just watching their game against Jacksonville, he seems to be more involved than I've ever witnessed before in terms of the huddles and in terms of, talking to the offensive players. So, I don't have to talk about Gary Gate. Everybody else will, but he's a great, great guy and a great coach, and he's got his team playing at a really high level right now.
Coach, last one for you. Vermont made some headlines in the fall. Their men's soccer team won a national championship. How was that experience for you and your team, or just kind of the campus feel overall when that happened?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was truly inspirational. These guys have a great culture. They have a great coach, and to do it in the fashion that they did, they got beat some really good teams along the way to winning a national title. And they believed in themselves. They didn't really feel like they were the underdog at all. And they've built this program up over the last 5 years and gotten some great international players and built a culture and a community. I mean, Vermont is an incredible soccer state. I didn't know that till I moved here, but they sell out all of their games, and they have I guess a semi-pro league plays here in the summer. They sell out every single game, and you would think we're, over in Europe, the amount of kind of like hooligans and like fans that they draw every game. So I think the culture is strong here, and Rob Dow's an amazing coach. And for the rest of the department, it's just been super inspirational to show that, it doesn't matter if you're at a mid-major, you can still compete with the big dogs if you, do things the right way and develop a great culture and recruit well. So excited for Rob, and hopefully we can follow in their suit.
We were talking about it last year, entering the dome, first game, a younger team, kind of putting the fuel to the fire. Like, what are you going to do kind of when the lights are bright? What are the keys for Vermont this year going into the dome to try to get the victory inside the dome?
Yeah, I think a big thing that we've hammered on this preseason specifically is just starting fast, giving ourselves a chance to get into a flow early in the game. And that doesn't necessarily have to translate to goals or necessarily have to translate to stops, but getting everybody on both sides of the ball kind of involved and getting them engaged and getting them working together. Obviously, this is a game of runs. Things can happen, especially when you're playing such a high octane team like Syracuse. You can't get too hung up on the scoreboard, but allowing us to start fast and doing what we do and what we've worked on. So, not taking the first shot, not going for, the blind double team that creates offense, like just doing the little things well and consistently to give ourselves a chance. And once we do that and we kind of shake out those initial nerves, I know we have the talent and the guys that we need to be successful on Friday. But let's not start off on a rocky note where we kind of get in our own heads, and then next thing Cuse goes on a 10-goal run. So we just want to avoid that, that big wave and just give ourselves a good start.
Actually, I have one more last quick one for you, Coach. I'm
Sure.
pretty sure you guys went to either Utah, was it last year?
We did.
How was that experience? Because Syracuse is going out west in a little bit of a month. How was the experience out there in Utah?
Oh, it was amazing. It's a beautiful, beautiful state. The airport is spectacular. One of the nicest airports I've flown into with this team, especially. But no, their campus is phenomenal. Their stadium is awesome. The views are amazing. Their team is another high octane team, so it'd be a fun game to just be a spectator at. Drew McMahon's a phenomenal coach out there, and I would say it's definitely a highlight trip. I mean, we went out there as a team 2 years in a row. It was such a cool trip. So I know you guys are going to enjoy that trip, and it'll be a fun game to watch. That's for sure.
I hope so. Utah, Syracuse playing, I think it's March 1st, I believe, on Saturday. But Syracuse and Vermont on Friday. Good luck on Friday, Coach, and safe travels.
Thanks, Jordan. I appreciate it.